Hi guys, it's Jenny from Crazy Crafts doing a video on how to update this Pooh Bear inflatable to plug straight into Australian walls. Okay, the parts I'll be needing today, aside from a few tools that I have lying around, an appropriate power adapter with the Australian pin out, and this plug needs to match the cable, which it does, and of course, as I add to all my updates, the cable tie. So this is the Pooh inflatable we're working on at the moment. Unfortunately, this one and this one are not the same, so I have to exchange one for the other. And the other day I released the cable tie bit and released the fan, and I also flicked off the dab of hot glue that was there. So now we're ready to pull him apart and change over his cable, which is really quite an easy task. Okay, the first thing we have to do is remove this little, I've already done it obviously, I wanted to make sure I could do it without breaking it, cable tie thingy that's on here. I just put my screwdriver under it and gently levered it out. So as it's not broken, it will go back in. Alright, and then we need to take these over to the soldering iron. Let's heat up these spots of solder here till I can remove the cables. So I'll be right back because you don't need to see the solder. Okay, so we're back. Only about 1 minute. We now have these two cables no longer attached to this fan. You'll note that these cables had, this white one has a grey stripe on this side, and this black one, which I'm going to pull out, also has a grey stripe on one of the cables. Those two cables must be attached to each other. So stripy one, not stripy one, like that. So we're going to toss this one because that doesn't work, and bring in this one, and we need to separate that a bit. These cables have come pre-tinned, so which means they've got solder on the end of these wires so they don't separate all the little copper fibres as you're trying to work, which is fabulous. So as we can see here, grey stripe on the top one, grey stripe on the bottom one, so we'll just twist that so those two fit together and those two fit together. And so all I'm going to do is straighten these out with the soldering iron, because once they've got solder on them, they're hard, not bendable anymore. And then I'll attach those two together, and I happen to know that the stripy ones are attached to this side on this one and the non-stripy ones to that side, which seems odd because that seems to have a plus on it, but hey, whatever, they've worked out. There should be something on here that says plus, but anyway, it'll either work or it won't. So I'll just go and solder those back on and we'll be right back. Alright, as I noted, the grey stripy wire on this particular one was to the negative power side, so just put it back where it came from. Did check it by plugging it into the wall at each point, and it does work. So just put this little power cable doohickey back in. It just clicks in. I am going to put some hot glue over here to protect the points from power and protect the fabric from the power as it's inside. I'm charging my hot glue gun, so I'll be back in a minute to do that, but meantime I'll do this while I'm waiting. So this is a nice cable tie that will long enough to fit round some of the longer wires. That is hooked hooked through there. So let me undo that because I need this end. Okay, make sure your screw cap is at that end. Push, make sure it's name side up. All the way down to the end. And then match it to here. And we can take this losable cable tie off. And we just wrap this around here. Now because we tied that to the one wire to start with, it will always stay attached to your wire. It's orange, so you know it's for Halloween. This will now plug happily into there, and it'll only go in one way, so don't ever worry about having that done the wrong way. Make sure it's done up tight, waterproofing. Alright, I'll just get the hot glue gun and put the hot glue dab on there, and then I'll show you putting it back together. Alrighty, the hot glue gun has arrived. Turned it on and powered it up. It's obviously got enough power to last for this job, and it's now warmed up long enough to be active to melt the glue. So I'm just going to put a nice round dab of glue on there. Turn that off to save its power. Wireless, wire-free, whatever, cordless. Love that. Alright, we just need to let that set for a minute, but in the meantime I'll show you this bit. So we need to have the white cable completely inside, and this cable needs to come out through the hole. So I'm going to take this off. Harden up a bit quickly. Alright, we'll just let that sit for a moment. Okay, I think the hot glue's cold enough and solid enough that it's not going to stick to everything I touch. Now, this needs to go in via the zip and out of the hole. And then the fan needs to go in via the zip, and you can see this ridge around here. These have been specifically designed for inflatables, so that's where the zip tie goes. Make sure your white cable's in. Just put your fan back inside the zip tie. I didn't give it a lot of room. Fabric threads, quality work. Right, so it's in its little hollow thing there. This is coming out of somewhere that's placement for it. And then we just reach in here, and I didn't take these zip ties off, so we just retighten the zip tie. And around here where I can get it, I always use a pair of pliers to tighten the zip tie properly. And then we feed the long end back inside this casing that's been made to hold the zip tie. It'll go most of the way around on this one. It's a long cable tie for it's getting stuck. Anyway, you get the picture. I'll fix it later. Alright, and then we should do that up, and we'll take us over to the PowerPoint. So, final test, and he's working perfectly. Can now be boxed back up and posted to the customer. Alrighty, so that's the basics of just changing over the power that way if anybody needs to do it. As I've mentioned before, I'm happy to do these things for a small fee. Only takes me about 10 or 15 minutes, so this one I've charged the lady 20 bucks for the supply of the power adapter and the 3-meter cable and the cable tie, and my time to do the actual repairs. Alright, there we go, all done. Catch you on the flip side.